Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today, amongst many other things, we're going to be following the progress in this Tier 8 standard battle here on the Two Brothers map of angry blades in the Italian Tier 7 battleship, the Francesco Caracciolo. And I kind of like this ship. I mean, it's not great, but I don't think there are any great Tier 7 battleships. There are plenty of Tier 7 battleships that I like. I like the Nelson, and it's certainly not bad, but it's definitely not great. And I think the Caracciolo falls into that category. It could certainly be a lot worse. I mean, there are some absolutely terrible battleships at Tier 7. Yes, Gneisenau, we're talking about you again. But it's funny how close the Gneisenau could have been to being all right, especially when you compare it to the Caracciolo, because the Caracciolo only has 8 15-inch guns. And, well, battleship accuracy being what it tends to be, more guns is better, because it's the old throw enough shit at the wall and some of it's going to stick policy. And with 8 guns, you're not throwing an awful lot of shit at the wall, but it's at least 2 more guns than the Gneisenau has, at the same tier, with the same caliber. And then, of course, you also have to factor in the accuracy. And while the Caracciolo's accuracy is not fantastic, it's not completely terrible either, which is another area where the Gneisenau falls over, and falls very far short of greatness, because the accuracy of the Gneisenau's guns is comically bad. So there are not that many differences between a ship like the Caracciolo and a ship like the Gneisenau. They're both Tier 7, they're both pretty well armoured, they both have torpedoes, they both have 15-inch guns. The differences between them are small, but the devil is in the details. The Caracciolo is not bad. In fact, maybe even fairly good. The Gneisenau is so bad it writes its own memes. Fortunately for everyone concerned, there is no Gneisenau in this battle. Unfortunately, there is a Farragut. Yes, that's him over there. I'm going to lay smoke down for you, he says. Now this could be really, really good news, or it could be really, really, really bad news. Because laying down smoke for your team could be critical in winning this flank, if you do it right. And by that I mean, don't just lay a curtain of smoke across the map and then sit in it, because then you're not actually doing anything useful, because you're not spotting anything outside of the smoke screen for your team behind the smoke screen to shoot at. In effect, all you're actually doing is laying down smoke for the enemy team. And that's the trick, because if you lay that smoke screen down too close to the enemy, and you don't stay inside it, so you can actually spot enemy ships, you're going to be so close to them that they're going to spot you right back. And then you're going to be a dead destroyer, and all you will have succeeded in doing is laying down a smoke screen for the enemy team. Oh, by the way, if any of you are wondering that since this is the Two Brothers map, we're going to get a flambast style rush down the middle, no, we're not. Yeah, I was as surprised as you are. The middle of the map just does not exist for anybody, apparently, in this battle. The Tiger 59, which is an absolutely terrible ship, by the way, and unfortunately for Angry Blades, is one of his Tier 8 cruisers, has just popped his radar. And then, which probably comes as a surprise to absolutely nobody, the Farragut gets himself gunned down by the Edinburgh that he charged to within about 5 kilometres of. I guess he wanted to get his torpedoes away. He didn't succeed. It's more or less around about this time in the battle where the Amagi player on Angry Blades' team starts crying in chat. And he's not going to stop for the entire battle. There he is. He's already congratulating the enemy team on their win. Now, I realise that sometimes, even this early in the battle, okay, they have just lost a Tier 8 cruiser as well, but even this early in the battle, based purely on your team's dispositions, you know, where they've gone and what they're doing, you can get a bad feeling about how things are going to go. And that's fine. But the Amagi player is really going to start taking that to the extreme. I mean, he is absolutely going to be kicking the arse out of it. I mean, every time he fires and doesn't immediately sink something, he's going to let everybody know about it in chat with his constant, incessant whining. And the thing is, he doesn't really seem to be a bad player. I mean, I haven't checked his stats or anything, but minor spoiler alert, he's going to get 3 kills in this game. But that's not going to stop him insisting that the matchmaker has already given this match to the enemy team. Meanwhile, Angry Blades is about to have fun because he's just been pinged by the submarine. He blew his damage control, but, well, it was way too late and he's already eaten 4 torpedoes. In case you're not a World of Warships player, by the way, and you're wondering why would sending the damage control teams out to plug leaks and put out fires stop homing torpedoes from homing? Yes, that's a very good question. And the answer is because World of Warships. No, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but they had to do something in order to prevent submarines from being even more annoying than they are. And speaking of which, because the submarine can ping him every 20 seconds, he's just been pinged again, which means there are more homing torpedoes on the way. And yes, the team have just lost a submarine of their own, so they're now down 3 kills. But that's alright, you can just clear the sonar ping by using... Oh, right, yeah, it's still on cooldown, isn't it? With 36 seconds to go. Right. Although the homing torpedoes are the least of his problems right now, those Hatsahara torpedoes are a much more immediate and significant threat. And as Juicy the cat just pointed out, yep, he's been pinged again. Yeah, Juicy's covering for Akazuki while she's sleeping. And there's 1 torpedo hit, which has, of course, caused a flood. Which means he's going to be wanting to use that damage control the second it comes off cooldown to mitigate the torpedo homing by, you know, putting the flood out, because that's how it works. Hey, I just work here. I don't make the rules, okay? You know, I was watching a replay earlier where people were complaining about the matchmaking in chat. And it ended up turning into like a 4 Yorkshiremen Monty Python sketch where everybody in chat was trying to just go one better with their worst matchmaking ever examples. And one guy was talking about... He was in a battle on the ocean map, which was only 8 versus 8. Oh, look, he's pinged again. Where's the counterplay? That's what I want to know. But anyway, yeah, going back to this example in chat in a previous battle. He was in an 8 versus 8 battle on the ocean map, where there was 1 carrier and 3 submarines on each team. Just think about that for a minute. Half of each team were a type of vessel that is never going to be seen unless they screw up. And he didn't even mention how many destroyers were in play, so there could have been 2 destroyers on each team as well, which would have left... let's go with 2 destroyers on each team, because that's not an unreasonable expectation. So that would have left 2 slots on each team for the battleships and cruisers. Everything else would have been a type of vessel that just never gets seen unless they screw up. How much fun would that have been for the battleship and the cruiser? Where they're the only things that can be seen and shot at for the overwhelming majority of the match. Where they're the constant target, not just of the carrier's air attacks, which is fun enough already, but also the constant and only targets for the incessant, every 20-second submarine sonar pings of 3 submarines per team. And this is exactly what I said was going to happen when they introduce another class, submarines, into the game, but they keep the team limit at 12, and they don't expand it. And that wasn't any kind of theoretical prediction either, something that might happen if the stars and the planets all line up in the correct... No. People are complaining about it, because it is happening. Wow. Who would have seen that coming? Oh yeah, this guy. Anyway, the Amagi is still complaining that he can't sink anything with every shot that he fires. And while just a couple of minutes ago, Angry Blade's team was down 6 kills to 2, they have managed to pull a couple of kills back. They're still 2 kills behind, of course, but this match is by no means over, regardless of how much that Amagi player cries about it in chat. Now, up until now, oh, and by the way, spotting range has just decreased to 8 kilometers, so that's maximum visibility range because there is a cyclone in effect. But, up until around about this point in the battle, you could be forgiven for thinking, why are we watching this replay? I mean, okay, the guy crying in chat is mildly amusing. The Farragut just suffering a sudden and fatal rush of shit to the brain at the beginning of the match, getting himself killed while laying down a very effective smokescreen for the enemy team was kind of amusing too, but, well, that's just the kind of thing that destroyers tend to do at the start of World of Warships random battles. Jingles has had a good cry about submarines and how they're ruining the game, but I'm not really seeing why Jingles picked this replay to show us. And yeah, I get it. That's a perfectly valid observation to make. Angry Blades hasn't really done anything remarkable yet. He's eaten a whole bunch of torpedoes. He's got no kills. Why are we watching this replay? Well, when it happens, you'll know. And you're not going to have to wait too long. Pretty soon after the King George V over there that Angry Blades is divisioned up with, pretty soon after he dies, because he's currently been focused by both the enemy Caracciolo and the Roma, and he's not going to survive much longer, and he's gone. Which means those guys are now both going to focus their attention on Angry Blades. And trust me, when it happens, you'll understand. The Roma sees that he's firing semi-armour piercing, so he risks turning broadside to get all of his guns to bear. And Angry Blades is down to 18,000 health. He's managed to get the island between himself and the Caracciolo, but with the semi-armour piercing on the broadside of the Roma, he's just not doing enough damage, and he is on fire. The Roma's secondaries have managed to start a fire, and the Roma's armour-piercing shells are doing some serious chipping away at his health. He's just blown his last heal, which, if he can stop taking damage, might put him back up at around about 16,000 health, but he just can't stop taking damage. He has, however, since the Roma has given him a nice fat broadside to shoot at, switched to the armour piercing and has done some monster chunk damage to the Roma over there. He was probably expecting him to continue firing the semi-armour piercing, which only has 92mm of penetration. It's great for shooting at the superstructure and the extremities of the ship, but will not get through belt armour. He's down to 9,000 health. The Roma is still showing broadside, and he's got the armour piercing reloaded. He gets the killing shot away, but the Roma also spanks him right back, reduces him to 371 health with no heals remaining, and the Caracciolo is right there. And this is it. Why does the Caracciolo not even have his guns pointing at him? And his 90mm secondaries are incapable of doing any damage. He might set a fire if he gets the opportunity, and Angry Blades did not give him the opportunity. See, nobody expects Italian battleships to be firing armour-piercing, because their armour-piercing shells are kind of bad. But at that kind of range, they're good enough. So now, doubtless you're thinking, well, yeah, the enemy Caracciolo absolutely should have spanked him. I mean, who leaves a ship alive at that kind of range? A ship that you're showing broadside to, when it only has 371 hit points left. But that's not all. Right, there are still 5 ships on the enemy team, and he's being chased by a submarine. For once, the kills are actually even. There are only 5 ships left on each team, although, well, you know, Angry Blades with 371 health barely counts as a ship left alive on his team. But here's where the Amagi, who has been doing nothing but crying this entire game about how RNG and the matchmaker have decided that the enemy team are going to win this and there's nothing he can do. He suddenly starts, well, he's just racked up his 2nd kill, and he's going to get a 3rd before he finally goes down. And he's still not going to stop complaining about how the matchmaker has it in for him. There we go, there's his 3rd kill. So it's now 5 against 3, and Angry Blades is spotted. He's visible with 371 hit points left. Why is nobody shooting at him? Well, there might actually be a good reason as to why nobody is killing him right now. I mean, the cyclone is still in effect, although it's going to lift soon. And he's probably being spotted and only visible to the enemy submarine who's chasing him. The other 2 enemy ships are probably, in fact, are absolutely more than 8 kilometers away. So he's visible on the map to them, but they can't actually see him to shoot at. Although that situation is going to change because the cyclone is now passing and spotting range is increasing. Remember, if he can see them, they can see him. And he can see them. So he's dead now, yeah? I mean, battleship at 371 health spotted at 12 kilometers. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Except nobody's targeting him. Why is nobody targeting him? Don't know. Oh, he's been marked by a ping again. Well, I mean, the submarine's back there somewhere. He uses the damage control, and still nobody's shooting at him. He's got the high caliber now. He's done 154,000 damage. Oh, wait, they were focusing down the Atlantico. Alright, well, fair enough. The Atlantico was right in front of them and on low health, so now he's dead. Now they're going to swing their guns around and eliminate the 8 15-inch guns parked on their flank, enjoying a beautiful crossfire on them. Or not. Instead, they're going to shoot at the New Mexico. The New Mexico, who has 23,000 more health than Angry Blades and is angled away from them, while they give broadside to Angry Blades' 8 15-inch guns. You know he's spotted, right? I mean, you can see him here, yeah? It's not just me. He is spotted. He is visible. The submarine's been shadowing him this entire game. And he was in direct line of sight of both of those guys. How is he still alive? I don't even understand what I'm seeing here. Do those guys just not like winning? Is that it? Are they allergic to getting kills? Angry Blades lining up a shot which will just clear the island there to hopefully, and because cool ships don't look at explosions, take out the Colorado while he drops death charges on the enemy submarine. The crybaby in the Amagi is now potentially going to have to eat his words, because the team might actually win this after his proclaiming an instant loss within 2 minutes of the start of the battle. But don't worry, he's got a get out of jail free card. He doesn't have to admit he was wrong. Because if you proclaimed that this is a guaranteed loss because the matchmaker's got it in for you, and then against the odds your team end up winning, well then it has to be a miracle, right? This is actually what he said in chat. It wasn't that he was wrong when he was blowing his mouth off throughout this entire battle. It was divine intervention. God reached down from heaven and made his team win. And yet, despite this, he's still not going to stop complaining about how RNG was favouring the Bayern there. I mean, you can't have it both ways, dude. Either God preordained that you were going to win this match, or he didn't. Or it could just be that you're full of shit. Although then again, I don't know. I mean, maybe the Amagi player does actually have something here. Because as Angry Blades spots the oil slick from the enemy submarine and dispatches his depth charge strike aircraft to seal the deal and win the match, I think divine intervention is the only reasonable explanation that makes any kind of sense that explains why Angry Blades is still alive at the end of this battle. That has to be it. God reached down from heaven and made him invisible, and that is why the last 4 or 5 enemy ships never even targeted him, let alone shot at him, when he was on 371 health. Oh, I don't know. You come up with a better explanation. That's all I've got. I am actually looking forward to seeing how you lot can justify that utter shit show in the comments section, because that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Angry Blades, congratulations, you lucky bastard. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.